G'day, it's Clive Roxinger here. Now I've done a bit of work with my lathe and I actually managed to get it, so I was actually only running out by about 10 thou. So there's a few things I did wrong. The piece I had in it was not true and had the gauge set up wrong, of course. Being a panel beater, I've had to change the way I do things completely. I'm making up at the moment, I'm making up a lubricant pump for my lathe. So I've got a pump and it's got a fair size gear on that too. That's lovely, that'll get her going. And I've got a pulley here which I pulled off. But I tend to work like a panel beater. I end up with stuff all over the bench. And when you're panel beating, it doesn't matter because all you're doing is smacking the crap out of metal. But when you're doing this stuff, when you're panel beating, you zone it. It's a really hard job. So you physically sort of zone out. You're like a bloody, because really all you're doing is, sometimes you got to have somebody push you in the right direction. Once you're going, you're right. But you don't do a lot of thinking. The brain's not working. With engineering, your brain's got to be on. So I had to machine the spline off this because it had a spline on it. I don't like untidiness, and what I'll do is I'll machine a bush over that, and then I'll secure that really tightly, and then I'll probably Allen key that on both sides. I want to get a flat on this, and I'll get an engineering shop to do that because I want a really deep recess on that, a flat on that to put that bushing in there. So it's got a real good bite. Luckily there's not a lot of pressure on it because it's only a pump. I used a carbide tip thanks to the old Tony. He explained that to me. I machine my tips like this because this is only a fairly small motor on this. I think it's only about a 1/3 horse. It's not very powerful. It's got a lot of torque, but it's not a particularly powerful motor. And the only drawback, of course, is that the tips get very hot. If you have a look at these ones here, this is how we used to machine our drum machining tips. Get it there. Now, for machining, that's quite a sharp tip, and it does get hot, as you can see. But you can do that's like for heavy cutting. That I'd really gone into it with that, with the finer stuff. There's one of my little fine ones. That's for cutting threads. This is one here that I think I used to use. The only thing is the only trade-off is that they get very hot. But by geez, you can really do some heavy cuts with that, and it doesn't do a bad finish. I kind of leave a little bit of a thread in there. This was a rough one that I did. This actually was the one that I machined for that. And you can see what I'll do when I'm rough cutting. I just gun into it and cut a thread on it. But I'm not a very good machinist, and at a later date I'm going to learn how to cut machine tips properly. I've got a more powerful grinder there down the back, on the bench, which is down here. But I'm going to get cut off in a minute. And I'll clean the joint up a bit. This one's a 1/3 horse, the other one's an 1/8 horse. So this is a much better little grinder. And I've got all my drill. I'm thinking about putting the drills down in engineering now. That's part of the pump that I overhauled. Yeah, so all this stuff needs. I'm changing the way the whole structure of the garage is set up and relocating stuff because now that I've got a lathe, I spent years and years buying stuff, hoping to build myself a lathe, and I ended up having enough money to buy one. So yeah. I've got to bolt the vice down, I've got it there. Allen key, why that means Allen key, that's an abbreviation. Jesus, I'm smart. And I thought I was a bit of a dill using me what do you call this, impact driver or whatever to change the to change the settings on this chuck. And I saw another guy doing it, so I thought, oh, maybe it's not so stupid after all. I actually made that thing up to put in the chuck so I can speedily bring the jaws out and put them back in again. But yeah, I've got to slow down. I've got to turn the brain on, and I've got to machine the sleeve up so that I'll put that pulley on there, and it doesn't have much meat in there. But I want to use the standard size pulley because that's a standard ID. So I'll be able to buy other ones with that same ID. I don't know what the ratio is going to be yet. I'll have to work all that out with math. I bought one of my calculators up. I've got about 50 calculators. Actually, this one here's a killer, but it's bloody solar power. And every time we go to use it, it's flat. Where the hell is it? This one here. I paid a lot of money for this too. I bought it from Dick Smith years ago. This is incredible, this calculator. It does everything. It's got constants and everything. Like it's got Boltzmann's constant already worked out for you, like to 30 decimal places. It's unreal. I can't get the thing out. That's it there. It's a scientific calculator. And she's a ripper. It's got everything on it. It's got conversions and everything in it. But it's hellish complicated to work out, and every time I go to use it, it's bloody flat. So it did have a battery in it, but I've got to leave it out to charge up. I just got to get in the habit of doing these things. Like I said, got to turn the goddamn brain on. When I'm panel beating, my brain tends to turn off. I zone out. And I looked at this bench and I crap everywhere. I thought, Jesus, mate, you're not a panel beating now. So I've had to change them. What I do is put my glasses over here when they're nice and safe, and I put my dial gauge over it. I damaged my dial gauge already because what I did was I bumped it. I actually dropped it because it's like bloody handling spaghetti. Unfortunately, when I tried to reset it, I undid all of it. It's flopping around all over the place, and I put it down. It was unbalanced and it fell over. So it's not a very big magnet on this. The ones that I used to use were fairly big magnets, and you could leave the gauge right out here, and it would stay stationary. But this one, if you got that protruding out a little bit, it actually becomes unstable and falls over. So it fell over on this thing, and now I think it's put that out. I think I might have put the little nylon gears out a bit. But well, you learn as you go along. It's a bloody metric on here. I hate the metric gauges. I prefer Imperial. And this is an Imperial machine, of course, because it's an American machine. And I prefer the Imperial thou. Bloody millimetres, can't make it into tail. I got this within 8.3 of a millimetre, which I think is about 11 thou. So it actually does run true, you just got to fiddle with it. So I'm really pleased, and it's actually not making as much noise. Still ringing. Oh, that's that it's ringing. It's not bad, It's an old piece of crap. It's not real bad. These things are noisy. That's not too bad at all. So, we're going to make this bush up and see how I go. So, Clive Rocksinger over and out.